Welcome to the Law Firm Accelerator. Hi, Keetick. It's so nice to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Victoria. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm okay, not too bad for a Monday, back from
For
a
a
long
fun
weekend.
day. Yeah, it was July 4th weekend.
Yeah.
You and I have worked together for quite a few years. And the reason why I wanted to have you on the podcast, because you actually have a really cool and unique story in that you started your own practice just a couple of years after law school in probably what is one of the hardest areas in the country, New York City personal injury attorney. And you've become very successful very quickly. And I would love to learn more about some of your secrets and how it happened that you succeeded where so many others have failed. So, could you tell me a little bit about yourself and your practice first?
Yeah, sure. As you know, my name is Keetick Sanchez, born and raised in New York. I'm an owner of my own law firm that handles, as you mentioned, personal injury cases here in Jackson Heights. I also opened an office in Long Island and hopefully opening one soon before the end of the year, either in the Bronx or Uptown Manhattan.
Wow. Yeah. You're always impressive. So, why your own law firm? Why New York City? Why personal injury? Like, were you like, I just gonna do the hardest thing possible? Like, just a few years after graduating law school? Is that how you approach this?
I guess I love a challenge, maybe. I don't know. So my background professionally, I've been in the personal injury world since out of high school almost, right? I was a freshman in college. I started as a file clerk and I learned the ropes up until going to law school. And I tell everyone that asked me why did I open my firm, it's because I always wanted my name on the door.
Hmm.
And I have my name on the door now. So
Aw.
that's one of the reasons I branched out in PI because I have the experience in it. And I wanted to give one, I'm a woman, and one, I'm a minority woman, right? I'm Latina. So I wanted to help clients that look like me, that speak my language, because unfortunately the personal injury world is male dominated. But here
Mm.
I am coming in kicking butt. And there's a lot of other
Hmm.
women, which is great as well. But that's one of the reasons I wanted to jump into this area of law.
Mm. Okay. So, do you have a lot of clients who feel more comfortable in Spanish rather than English?
Majority of my clients are Spanish speaking, and they do feel comfortable that they're able to communicate with me directly without the
Hmm.
need of a translator or interpreter. So, and we also have that connection, which sometimes lacks when there's an interpreter involved.
Yeah, I would imagine so. How do how do you market yourself? This is a marketing podcast. So what is it that you do? What is the magic that you do, Kitik, that gets you to be seen in New York City?
At first, I have to say you, right? You,
That
and I'm not
was a softball.
gonna say this, but honestly, you are like the best money I spent. Like you said, we've been working
Aw.
together from the beginning, and you were with me from the beginning, right? You helped me grow my
Hmm.
practice. With your help, I've gotten to where I am, thank God, and I'm hoping to grow even more.
Hmm.
Um, and again, I'm not getting paid to say this, everyone.
I'll pay you later.
But yeah, so that's SEO. Google, I want to say about 90% of my clients have found me on Google, which is, with the use of your services. Other ones is marketing, is social media. I
Mm.
do my own reels and posts, and because I still want to have the connection with the community, so they see me and my staff in the videos. Um, Also, I do a lot of community events, right? I'm out in the community so
Hmm.
people could get to know me, get to know my firm and my staff and what services we provide.
Yeah. I would say in that sense, you are very unique for many of my clients. I would say you do way more community events than even anybody I've ever heard of. You are constantly posting Zumba and you're doing, donations and you're doing like you do so much. Is this something that comes naturally to you, or are you doing this because you feel like this is a good presence? What is the kind of the reason to do this?
It's a little bit of both. I like community outreach. I've always been in that. Even in my younger years, I was into sports. When I got too old for sports, I coached. So I like helping out my community. Also, it helps exposure, right? They now
Mm.
know who I am. I give back to the community. In addition to that, I give them my card, a keychain with my information. So God forbid they do need a lawyer sometime, they now know someone that's familiar.
Yeah. And it's super helpful because they see your name in person, then they see your name on Google, then they see your name on social media. And so they're familiar with you. It's not like they just see you on Google. And I think that's why you have such good conversions because you are out there. And it's a unique strategy. How do you find all these community events? Is there like, do you have a technique for which ones you go to?
So I have some that I do my own, right? I have my own like annual Halloween event that's literally right outside my office that I do myself. I've done the annual Easter egg hunt that I book a place in Flushing Meadow Park for kids to come and play. Again, exposure, which helps. Other events are from community leaders or community members or word of mouth from other attorneys like, oh, look, I'm doing this. Do you want to join? So that's very important to know, to have those connections with other people because opportunities always present themselves.
Do you go out there and meet attorneys as well? Are you doing that type of networking?
Yes, I do meet other lawyers, even other PI lawyers, right? It's always good to know people. I meet other doctors as well, individuals. Anyone could get involved in a car accident. Anyone could get hurt in any type of accident, right? So anyone you meet, like even when I take a taxi cab, I talk to the driver. I'm like, oh, hey, by the way, I'm a lawyer. Here's my card. God forbid you get into an accident. You know me now, right? We try to be friendly with these people. And that's one thing I've learned, right? From mentors and stuff. Like no matter who you are, from a janitor to a CEO, you got to treat them the same, treat them like a person. And that goes a long way. I've had clients come and say, oh, I met you. Speaking of taxi drivers, a taxi driver that driven me like a year ago, he's like, oh, I had your card and I got rear-ended.
Wow.
Now he's a client.
Wow.
Right? So these little conversations could be memorable and they could be used in the future for potential clients.
Yeah, you have a really good personality for that. See, I don't usually talk to Uber drivers or taxi drivers. I'm sitting on my phone. But maybe I should start. Be like, hey, do you know any lawyers might need some marketing? I think it comes naturally to you, and that's why it works for you. And you got to go with what works for your personality. So, in addition to the community stuff, I know you've grown very quickly, and I know we've seen lawyers come and go, even in the few years that we've worked together. What do you think it is that makes you different from all those other folks and people who are not as successful as you?
You said it, right? Genuine. I try to be genuine. I try to be honest with my clients. You have to know the good and the bad. And this isn't any relationships, right? So I even take this into my professional relationships with my clients saying, look, there's lawyers out there that's going to tell you your case is $1 million, yet has no idea what your injuries are, right? That doesn't work because at the end, the client's going to be upset. You lied to me, etc. So I tell them, like, this is what you need to do. We take care of everything, but you have your homework, right? We have to work as a team. So I think that's where, and clients that I've resolved cases for have told me that they appreciated it because they know what they need to do to get to the finish line, right? So I think it's the being genuine, honest, and actually really caring for the client and not just seeing them as dollar signs, which they are ultimately in my business mind. But as a lawyer, they're also a client that's been hurt, right? So
yeah.
I think that's what, luckily, knock on wood, has been successful for me. And that's why I keep growing. And I have a lot of repeat clients from like their family members, their partners, etc.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to find a good personal injury attorney. It's funny because you think it's easy, but like, I have a relative who had a case and it's just been, and she also went to somebody who speaks her language because she wanted to be able to communicate with them. And it's exactly that. I don't think she will ever refer anybody to that person because it just hasn't been a great experience. And even though we have so many personal injury attorneys, bringing that extra caring can be helpful. And first impression. But I know you also like give this good second and third and fourth impression, and you really care about these people and you follow through with what you say you will. So I think that makes a big difference. Yeah. What does your ideal client look like? Do you have an ideal client?
My business money making side says a seriously injured one. My humane side is someone that's going to be as transparent as I am, right? Because I've
Hmm.
had, even before I opened my own firm, I worked at other firms. I was a paralegal for 20 plus years. And we find out things that it's too late to help them, right? So I tell my clients, tell me I am like your new wife, girlfriend, mistress, whoever you're honest to. I am her, right? I want you to tell me, sometimes people lie to their wives. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Um, or their partners or their husbands. So I'm like, you need to, whoever you tell the truth to, right? Your priest, that's who I am, right? Because if you tell me, I could protect you, right? So that's an ideal client that tells me everything. An ideal client is, again, a seriously injured one, but not even those. Even those that are not seriously injured, I try to help them. Um, but yeah, so that's like, I guess, my perfect client. Everyone's my perfect client. Whoever wants to come with me is my perfect client.
Well, that's a good question. Is there any client you won't take on, or any client that you fired that you feel is just, it's just not going to be a good fit for you?
Thankfully, in the 4 years that I've been open, I haven't fired any client. I haven't dropped any
Um,
client, thank God. But thinking if that might happen, someone that's flat out lying, right? There's
yeah,
been, situations where clients, there's fraudulent claims and we put a lot of
yeah,
time and effort in them. And if they're lying, it's just,
yeah,
we have to
yeah,
drop them or,
yeah. And I'm sure that happens in personal injury. People case up and all that stuff.
yeah.
Um, Funny, I fire clients all the time, but it's a little bit of a different.
Oh, your business is more particular.
My business is very particular, and it's like a marriage I have with these people. They're my clients for a long time, so I have to like them.
Exactly.
Um, I know we spoke about your community events. Are there any marketing secrets that you would say, you could kind of pass on to the younger personal injury lawyers out there, and maybe something that they could be doing?
You have to market yourself. Whatever, I'm not a young buck anymore. I'm not going to say my age, but I hired someone that's 20 years old, and the things they know, I felt like a super senior citizen, right? Um, so you have to be able to market to all age groups, right? So
Yeah.
myself, I have you doing my SEO services. Social media, I have Facebook, which tends to be a little bit my age group. TikTok, which is more the like teenagers, 20-year-olds that are on that. So I have to market in all these different social media platforms because each platform kind of caters to different age groups. So those that are younger have to make sure they be marketing themselves to all type of individuals.
Hmm. Do you have a TikTok presence? I'm so outdated. I don't actually have a TikTok
I
presence.
do. I do. So
Okay.
it's a mix of like comic because TikTok is, it's TikTok.
Mm.
So
Mm.
some of my videos are comedic and others are informative, right? To kind of grab their individual's attention. Um, so yeah, so I have TikTok.
So is your 20-year-old handling that?
So I film them, right? So what I do with my firm, I'm like everything. I'm a lawyer, business owner, social media marketer. Thank God I don't have to do Google or anything that you do for me. Um, so we do like social media Fridays, like the last couple hours on the day. We do quick filming for the week. She
Mhm.
does help me like advance the ones you could probably see the transition in my videos from the ones I posted from like a year ago to now. It's much
Mhm.
better. I give myself credit that I'm learning.
Mhm.
And that's another thing I think, advice to your previous question about the younger generation. If you choose to go to the PI world, be a PI lawyer, right? There's a lot of people that say they are and they aren't. This is a practice. You got to keep learning and learn it to perfect it, right? Just keep at it. Dedicate what you really want to do. Just don't market it because you don't really know what you're doing. Like
Mhm.
the one like your family friend might have hired someone that doesn't know PI that well. That's why it's taking longer. And you can see when someone doesn't know, right? So young ones, make sure you know what you're doing. Ask for help. There's other like when I come across someone in their 20s graduating law school, I'm like, look, if you need anything, reach out to me. I could help you. even though they might
Mm-hmm.
be a competitor one day, but when they do become successful, if they do, they see my
Mm-hmm.
name of a client that might change attorneys. They're like, oh no, Keetick help me out. I'm not going to take her. Let me call her, let her know this client's shopping around. Right? It's
Mm-hmm.
reputations. It matters. Um, those connections really do matter. Anyway, so going back to your question,
Yeah.
I transgressed.
Yeah. I really like, well, first of all, that's very nice of you to help all these people out who are potentially competition. And I think it makes sense in the long run. But I love the idea of social media Fridays. Because it does feel like making content for social media can be such a chore by naming it something fun and more importantly, put it on your schedule. That's a great tip
Yeah.
for folks who want to do it. And, that's very good. Did you come up with that yourself or did you read that somewhere?
I think I made it up myself because I found at one point, again, I guess I'm still a baby in the game a little bit. I'm only 4 years in, even though I have all this PI experience. But as my own business owner, I noticed that I was doing it maybe a little bit every day. It's just taking too much time. So I blocked
Mm.
out. I like to block out times for everything. So I
Yeah.
blocked out this time to do it.
Yeah. Very, very good idea.
Yeah.
Um, can you tell me what not to do when marketing?
What not to do. Uh,
Everybody's got a bad story.
yeah, what not to do.
Well, you don't have a bad story because you came straight to me. So you never dealt
Yeah,
with like a bad agency.
yeah. It is. I think like don't hire someone you don't know. You were recommended to me. Um,
Yeah.
and I got a good vibe with you, right? So I
Yeah.
it's a big thing for me personally, but not to do. I would say there's a lot of I get it all the time, even to this day. People from different countries saying they do this, coding and stuff. I don't know the terminology, that's your field, but all
Mm-hmm.
the stuff that you do at a probably a cheaper rate. Sometimes cheaper is
Mm-hmm.
not always the right way to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, you're here in the US, you and I converse. We've even met in person, so that
Mm-hmm.
is a good thing. Um, yeah, so that's something I prefer to have someone that's just my choice, someone I can actually
Mm-hmm.
see and speak to that I know they're here and they know kind of what's going on in New York or in the
Yeah.
US. Um, another thing not to do is burn bridges, right? I've
That's a good
seen,
one.
unfortunately, it happened to me. I didn't burn it, they burned me, right?
Mm.
I gave them opportunities and I found out they were doing stuff behind my back. And now this happened a couple of years ago, even before I opened my practice. And now they're attorneys and they asked for my help. And I'm like, no.
Mm.
And I usually
Yeah.
never say no, right? So, like, burning
Yeah.
bridges, like when you market yourself, be genuine, don't use people. I sound like a spiritual leader sometimes, like myself, but it's
I
been
would join your cult.
yeah, it's been help. It's been work for me, right? I think
Yeah.
it's been working out for me. So don't burn bridges. You always come. PI world is big, but small
Yeah.
at the same time. Um,
Yeah. That's true.
everybody
You keep
knows
running
each
into the
other
same people. Yeah.
all the
It's
time.
very true. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good advice. Yeah. I'm glad you don't have that many bad marketing experiences to share.
No, like I said, I got you from the beginning, so I have
Yeah, you bypass that whole thing. Because I get like people with like major PTSD coming to me, where I feel like, they're so stressed because they don't know, they weren't in a good situation. It's almost like a domestic violence situation. I have to be like,
like
it's okay, I'm not going to hurt you. I mean, I get it because it's, the thing with marketing is like very few people understand what we do except us. So you have to be able to trust somebody.
yeah, like I don't know
Um,
what I know what you do, but at the same time I don't. But I trust you 100%. Like you ask me, what about this? I'm like, whatever you want. It's like again,
yeah.
we have that trust with each other, which is important.
Yeah, but the same thing is when you hire a lawyer, you have to be able to trust them because I don't know the law. Like, what the hell do I know? You know what I mean? And if I come to you and you screw me, of course I'm going to be afraid next time. So makes sense. I know you have some really good relationships with your staff and you have some really special people on your staff. And can you talk to me a little bit about how you hire them? What is your approach to that?
So luckily, my staff, I've been blessed with great people. Speaking with other colleagues, I've heard horror stories. Um, so when I first opened back in early, yeah, 2020, I opened like October 2018, a little bit before the pandemic. I have Jenny who started with me from the beginning, and she's like my
Mm.
right hand. She's helped me out from day one. Then, as we grew, we hired more staff, and the people I've hired has been recommendations from others. Like I post it online sometimes. I'm like, oh, law firm looking for receptionist or medical clerk, whatever the position might be. I've done Indeed hiring as well. Not too happy with it. It was more word of mouth.
Mm.
I've gotten really
Mm.
lucky with the staff. One of my most recent hires is actually someone I knew from law school, right? So it's again the connections I have. I already kind of know their personality. I feel like they might fit, so they jump board.
Mm. So are you posting on social media that you're looking for somebody? Are you contacting your old school? What network are you using for that? Because I know a lot of
So
people struggle with this.
so I have posted on the my success stories have been on social media. So like Jenny, I asked Jenny, could you post in your network? Because she's a parent, so she's in like a lot of like
Mm.
groups. Um, because I wanted someone that's close to the office, right? So I don't have commute issues. Because we're in person office. So it's been through that.
Hmm.
But I
Yeah,
have
that makes sense.
contacted my law school. Again, the law student that I hired, I've known them from law school. Um, yeah, I'm just thinking about everyone else. Yeah, everyone has been actually social media. Indeed was
Okay.
just not
Yeah.
horror
Yeah.
stories there.
Yeah, yeah. A few of my clients have told me the same, that the best source of hiring is really through somebody you know, which is kind of crazy if you think about it, right? With today's technology, you basically have to go outside on the corner and shout, "Hey, does anybody know a good paralegal?" But here we are. Cool. Thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
Um, Speaking of students, now I understand that you have a job teaching at Queensborough, which is pretty impressive. And tell me more about that.
Like I said, I like challenges. In addition to having my career, I've always had a passion for teaching. Like I mentioned earlier, I used to coach basketball when I stopped playing myself. Um, so yes, I am a professor at Queensborough Community College here in Queens. I teach crim law, which is
Oh,
another
okay.
section of my practice. It's a minority. Majority, like I said, is personal injury, but I do handle criminal defense cases. Um, so I teach that at Queensborough Community College to first year students.
That's cool. So, what is that like? Is it hard? Is it rewarding? Like, I mean, I would probably lose my cool all the time because I've encountered college freshmen before.
I've been lucky. Like the first year I did it, the first semester, mind you, was tough because I had to create my lesson plan, my plan how to teach it and present it. But now that I've done it a few semesters, it's quite enjoyable, right? Because it's crim law. Everyone loves crim law, Law and Order. My
Yeah,
cousin Vinny, right? What's the other one?
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
blanking out. Blue Bloods. Like, there's so many crime shows online, on TV, on movies that everyone loves it, right? So it's a very interesting topic. So my students are usually very engaged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone loves it as long as they don't have to like deal with the
Yeah.
system
As long as
from a side.
as long as they're not involved in that. But yeah.
Mm. That's cool. Do you know if any of your students went on to become lawyers or plan on going to become lawyers?
So most of them have said they do have an interest in law.
Okay.
They don't say personal injury, but lawyer, right? They're still young.
Okay.
They're 18-year-olds.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I tell them like keep in touch. I do offer my students summer internships.
Hmm.
Last 2 summers, I did do a summer internship with some of my students, which was great. Um, to give them exposure, which I didn't have in high
Yeah.
school. It wasn't until college that I started learning about the legal world.
That's a great idea. And I bet, because I know in New York City, a lot of students who are college also work. Maybe some of those, would any of those become like part-time workers for you or?
Well, so most of them has gone to college full time. It was just for the summer to kind
I got
of
you.
take them to court with me. Hopefully, when they finish college, they'll keep in touch, and if they're
Yeah.
good to go, I wouldn't mind hiring them.
That's a good way to network as well by teaching
Yes,
locally.
I've met a lot of people. Everyone knows my social media handles from my classes. So again, it's exposure.
Hmm.
Exposure.
Yeah, that's a good amount of exposure because you have so many students,
Hmm.
and all those students have families. God forbid something happens, they have Miss Keetick Sanchez
Yes.
that they yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
See, you have good ideas for this kind of stuff.
Thank-
So, okay, what advice would you give to a young law school graduate who is like, I don't want to work for somebody else. I want to open my own successful law firm?
I wish someone told me this, and I still work with it, right? Fear is your worst enemy, right? We probably have heard that before from other uh, people more important than me. Um, but fear is poison, right? I've been wanting to open my firm immediately right after law school because I had all this exposure to the PI world already, personal injury world.
Mm-hmm.
But I was scared. I'm like, what if I can't make it? What if I can't do it? So I didn't do it right away. An opportunity presented itself and I took it, right? So your determination to succeed has to be much stronger than your fear of failing, right? It has to be, you have to be a risk taker, right? No matter what happens, whatever is being thrown at you, you could manage it. You got through law school, which is hard enough, right?
Yeah.
Um, and God forbid, if it doesn't work, you have other avenues. But I think you have to be willing to take that risk. And an opportunity doesn't knock twice. When this opportunity presented itself to me, I ran with it, and
Mm-hmm.
no regrets ever since.
Yeah, and you opened during COVID when nobody was driving anywhere.
I used to go home sometimes crying. I was like, oh my God, I just opened and this pandemic occurred. I'm like, how am I going to
Yeah,
survive this? And
yeah,
thank God I'm here still growing and
yeah,
kicking butt.
yeah. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. So, for PI lawyers who are located in a highly competitive area, is there any specific advice you would give them to try to stand out from the competition?
um, if you speak a different language, cater to that. Hire someone like you, right? Google is your best friend. Everyone Googles
Mm,
everything, right? You know this more than me.
mm.
I Google everything myself. Google best restaurant in Jackson Heights, right? I look it
Yeah.
up. Best PI attorney in Jackson Heights. Thanks to you, I'm one of the top contenders there, right? So Google is so important. So you have to in order to make money, you have to spend money. So spend
Mm,
money in someone that's good like you doing, the Google and the coding. I don't know the terminology
mm.
in the background.
The stuff that I do.
You do, right? Yeah, so people are scared to spend money, but especially when you first open, but you have to.
Yeah,
It's an investment
yeah,
in yourself. You have to see
yeah.
it, right? You're not throwing money away. You're betting on yourself.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah, and
best.
you were patient too. You knew right that it wasn't going to happen right away. I
Yeah,
think I'm going to answer my own question and tell them to be a little bit patient because it doesn't happen overnight. You can't
absolutely.
just come in like somebody's been doing it for 20 years and you come in and like within two months you're beating them. Like it's just it takes time.
You have to be realistic, right? PI, as you know, it's a very highly competitive field. Um, I'm a solo practitioner and I have my own firm, but I'm competing with firms like, huge firms that have
Yeah.
thousands and thousands of lawyers.
Hmm.
But again, you help me compete with them. Me being out in the community, me being genuine, me being really caring for my clients has helped me bring in multiple clients.
Yeah. Well, you're certainly doing well. Couple more questions.
Yeah.
So, your community involvement, are there any interesting projects you're working on? I know you do a lot of volunteer work, charity work, you do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so there's a Unity Fair coming up in August that's in my neighborhood, which is just a bunch of local businesses getting together at the local park. Um, I have my annual Halloween party that I
Hmm.
have, or trick or treat event that I have. I have Christmas events coming up too. But I've been, again, in my crazy brain of mine that I always like to take challenges, is I wanted to give back to other countries, underprivileged people. Or there's another one I was looking online for, like, make sure no kid is unfed, right? Make sure they have food. Some type of like fundraiser that I could do an event and people donate and give it to that charity, something like that. I haven't, again, that's just in very basic beginning stages, but it's something I want to work on.
Well, let me know. I will join that. That sounds fun. I'm not going to organize anything because, I'm not very good at that, but I will come and I will donate. And I will support the children and support you.
Yes, thank you. And that idea inspired me from another PI firm that I worked at. They do St. Jude's, right? When I worked there as a paralegal, it was really small, and now they have like galas, right? Which I hope to be.
That's cool.
Big. Yeah.
That's super cool. Yeah. All right. Last question. I'm a big reader. Okay. So what is your favorite business book that you would recommend somebody who is, a new law firm owner or somebody starting their own business?
So I'm actually currently reading 21 Rules of Leadership, I think it's called.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
I think I've heard about this, and I think it's on my list, but I have not yet read it.
Yeah, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership is what I'm listening to by John Maxwell. I'm about halfway through. Amazing, right? You don't have to be a born leader to be a leader, right? You don't have to have all those 21 qualities to be a leader, but it shows you how to get to being a leader, right? I think it's helpful because being your own business owner, you are a leader. I have a team, right, which you have to lead and inspire them. And like I said, I've been blessed with that all of them are invested in the growth of my firm. And I hopefully attribute to some of my leadership qualities, but that's a great book to read.
Thank you for the recommendation. How do you get people to be invested in the growth of your firm? It's obviously not their firm, it's your firm. So what is it that you do? What is it, the special magic that you do?
Security, incentives, right? I'm like, the more money I make, the more money you get, right? The money makes the world go around, right? Again, I see what they need in their life, and I try to compensate their need when I see they're invested in my firm, right?
Yeah.
One of my staff members has a child. When she can't find a babysitter, I let her bring him in. As long as he doesn't disturb, obviously, right? Another one's in school. They need a day off. I'm very lenient in that aspect because I want them to feel like to stay here with me, to grow with me. And I give them opportunities to grow. Jenny, for example, who I mentioned earlier, she started just answering my phones, and now she manages my whole office, right? Because she's learned ropes. Yeah. So everyone that comes in, I tell them, like, look, this is where you're starting. But if you learn, I even encourage them, go to law school so I could hire you as a lawyer. So that's how I kind of keep them here. And I try to make it a happy, fun place to work. Today, for example, it's been crazy because we had the long weekend, but we're getting through it.
Yeah, I see the pictures you post. It does look like a fun place to work. Like, it just seems like the environment is really good, and like, you bring the joy, and I think people pick up on that.
Yeah.
All right, Keetick, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. This was wonderful.
Thank you for having me. It was such a great time talking to you.
And I will see you online. Your new website is almost ready, so.
I'm so excited. It looks great so far.
Yeah, it's going to be really good.
Beautiful.
All right, girl. Thank you. Bye.
Have a good one. Bye.